The longest active winning streak at home in college basketball is on the line tonight in Eugene. Oregon has won 40 straight at Matthew Knight Arena as Utah comes calling, looking to pull the upset against the 7th-ranked Ducks. Oregon in second place in the Pac-12, a game behind Arizona. Oregon owns the tiebreaker. Utah is tied for 5th and has not won in Eugene since joining the Pac-12 conference. Hi everybody, I'm Dave Pasch, and a sight for sore eyes and sore ears, to be honest, after last night with Dickie V and Bill. Fran Fraschilla, good to see you, Fran. You had Oregon at the beginning of the season. How far have they come, and do you see them as a national title contender right now?
Well, they've come a long way because Dylan Brooks didn't play early in the year against Baylor, and then only a little bit in Maui. I love this team because they have 7 starters. They've got depth, they've got experience, size inside, and of course Dylan Brooks, who's their go-to guy. Yes, they are a national title contender.
Big story for the Utes tonight as they will be without Kyle Kuzma, their leading scorer, their leading rebounder. He is out with an ankle injury. Larry Kryskowiak told us before the game there's a chance that he'll play in Utah's next game Sunday. This is a huge game for Utah. They're out of the NCAA tournament picture right now. Their best win this season against USC. If they could win this game, obviously it would really improve their chances.
They're going to miss him because this kid, Dave, he plays like 2 Utes. You know what I'm saying?
I thought the chicanery was gone after yesterday. Don't start.
Okay.
I'm glad you weren't able to find tie-dye. I know you were looking for it.
I was looking.
Utah wearing the black uniforms, and Oregon going with the electric green. This first time they've donned these uniforms here this season.
Both teams tonight will play a matchup zone. It looks like zone, but there'll be a lot of man-to-man principles in it. And so what you want is cutting, ball movement.
Here's Pritchard, a freshman, and now Dorsey for 3, rattles around and drops. Oregon dominated Arizona here a couple of weeks ago. Had a 19-point lead at UCLA. Its defense let them down late, but the Ducks are a 3-point shooting team that can get really hot and blow teams out. Cedric Fairfield making his 3rd start of the season for Utah. Here's a 3-point try for Tyler Rawson off the mark. The putback won't go for Daniels. Out of bounds, Oregon ball.
Good tough possession for Utes. They got the ball inside, couldn't convert.
Fran, Dana Altman, 7th year. One of the more underrated guys, right, at his profession?
I'll tell you, he's so underrated. They gave him a 7-year extension in the fall, about $18 million. So that says a lot about what Rob Mullins and the rest of this Oregon athletic program think about him. He really is an outstanding basketball coach.
Here's Jordan Bell, who's one of the most improved players, not just in the Pac-12, but in all of college basketball.
Well, you love his defense, but you also love the way he's really improved on that end.
Going in for the dunk is David Collette. Good job by Utah after almost turning it over in the backcourt. Ennis's 3 is in and out. He's shooting 50% from 3 in conference action. And now an offensive foul here is called on Oregon.
Yeah, they got Ennis for a little push-off.
Larry Kryskowiak has battled a lot, Fran, over the last 12 months. Last year he had thyroid cancer, didn't announce it until the spring, and he's been battling a back injury. It's been giving him a lot of problems here this season.
I've known Larry for a very long time. Toughness is in his DNA. Grew up in Montana, was an outstanding player at the University of Montana, 9 years in the league, and an excellent coach.
Nice pass, chance that a layup was missed by Rawson, gets it back and puts it in. Tyler Rawson with the basket, making his 5th start of the season.
And Fairfield, 2 really good possessions, penetration by the youngster, the guard out top.
Here's Brooks on the drive. Oregon excellent when it comes to offensive ball movement and execution. Pritchard goes to the left hand and gets it.
Dave, you've watched him from the beginning of the year. How much has he improved as a young guy, the freshman from West Linn?
I think a lot. You know, early in the year, they knew he would contribute. They weren't sure how much. He's had a terrific season. Ennis with a great look ahead to Bell for the slam.
Oh, I love his energy. Jordan Bell out of Long Beach, California. He's the odds-on favorite to be the defensive player of the year in this league. But what an athlete.
And friend, you asked a question about Pritchard. You know, Dana's teams in general always get better as the season goes along.
And I watched practice yesterday, Dave, and they still do the little things. Fundamentals. He's out there preaching and teaching the little things that make this offense and defense so effective.
Brooks hangs and able to finish. First points of the game for Brooks.
A really good defensive challenge by Rawson, but Brooks did a nice job of hanging and handling the contact. There you see the zone. You'll see a lot of switching, pointing, communicating. And if you're Utah, you've got to cut both with the man and move the ball.
Entry pass to Collette. Out of bounds. And it'll be Oregon basketball. Oregon 22-4 record, second best record at this stage of the season in school history, and they're off to their best start in conference play since they won the national title back in 1939.
That team was coached by Howard Hobson. They beat Ohio State. Don't ask me why I know that, but that was the first Final Four.
Almost a steal by Devin Daniels, and then Ennis is fouled. Parker Van Dyke picking up the first foul in Utah. Fran's already talked more basketball in 4 minutes than my normal partner does in 40.
Take a look. Dylan Brooks from Mississauga, Ontario, among the tall trees out in Oregon.
Exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Logan. In theaters March 3rd. Rated R.
Matthew Knight Arena. It would be huge for them because as you look at their NCAA tournament resume, they need some big wins. Their best win is against USC.
But on this side of the ledger, you're looking at a Utah team that could desperately. One of the things about Utah, if you look at this situation, they just beat Washington State at home, and their RPI dropped. This is the last real opportunity to put a signature win on that resume, or they're going to have to go deep in Pac-12 tournament play, in my opinion.
They played well against Oregon and UCLA, and Salt Lake City lost both those games. Lost to Arizona, Butler, Xavier. All the teams that had they just beaten one of those teams would have improved their resume dramatically. Right now, Joe Lunardi has 5 Pac-12 teams in. Dorsey with a 2-pointer. He's got 5.
Hey, how about Tyler Dorsey? Last 5-6 games, he has been red hot, efficient, consistent, and just another weapon.
21 points per game his last 3.
Yeah.
He's 13 for his last 22 from three-point land. Lorenzo Bonham on the floor now, coming off the bench tonight. Shot clock at 3. Shot clock's been down inside 5 several times, and another Utah turnover. Again, Kyle Kuzma, their best player, averaging a double-double, is out with an ankle injury tonight. Daniels with a rebound. Utah's got numbers here. And Daniels could not finish. Out of bounds to Oregon again.
Yeah, Daniels went Euro step when he needed to just go right through Pritchard. He didn't really have good position.
Chase Johnson is going to come in the game for Utah. David Collette will go to the bench.
Well, Utah, Davis, you know, a lot of turnover from a season ago. They lost Pirtle to the NBA. Some guys transferred. This is a group that's going to be together for another year outside of Bonham. But they added a lot of different pieces. JUCOs, transfers, a guy back from LDS Mission, Parker Van Dyke.
Great no-look pass, but Boucher couldn't finish. Terrific look by Dorsey. Just to finish up on your point on Utah, I mean, think of all the guys they lost. They lost guys like Jordan Lovebridge, who were really good role players. He's playing in Europe. Brakat Chapman, a surprise transfer.
Right.
And obviously Pirtle going to the Raptors. Here's a foul on Peyton Pritchard, the second on Oregon.
Well, we talked about a lot of new faces, and you see they come from everywhere. And they're redshirting another freshman, but It's a good opportunity for them here on the road. They'll have this team back for another year. I think Larry Krystkowiak is one of the best coaches in the West. He did a great job at Montana, coached in the NBA.
2 straight years in the NCAA tournament. Yep. Sweet 16 2 years ago when they had DeLon Wright, who's also on the Raptors. Count that one. Oregon leads the nation in blocks, but that was on the way down, or it hit the board, one or the other there. Goaltending.
You like the activity inside. I like this freshman, Jace Johnson. He's gotten a chance to play a lot of basketball. He redshirted last winter. He paid his own way in the spring semester. He got to practice against Pirtle every day.
How about Dorsey? He's hot. 8 points for Dorsey already. Has as many as Utah.
You see, Oregon always comes with that 1-2-2 press. Then they'll fall back to the matchup. They're in this defense about 80% of the time. And Dorsey's always at the top of the press.
Oregon has gotten off to some blistering starts recently, especially here at home. Daniels off the mark. Boucher clears. Good hands by Bonham. Otherwise, Dorsey was set up for a 3.
Yeah, this young man went home over the weekend, played really well in LA. Big game against USC and what turned out to be a really huge win coming off that loss to UCLA that you had middle of last week.
They had a 19-point lead, and even in midway point of the second half, they still were in command of that game, and UCLA behind the play of Lonzo Ball won the game.
You know what impressed me about him that night? How about the defense?
Yep.
Was he outstanding?
Tyler Dorsey with 10, outscoring Utah by himself. So at the top of the show, you said Oregon is a contender. What about UCLA? What about Arizona, Frank?
Well, I mean, they're both obviously contenders to get to the Final Four. Seeding will be so important down the stretch. UCLA's defense, we saw in the second half, and at times they can guard you. But that's the major, to me, that's the major question with UCLA. But love the way they play.
Dorsey with a steal and then a Utah foul. Second team foul on the Utes. We get Jace Johnson.
This Oregon team, Dave, it reminds me when you look at the Final Four last year, who played in it? All veteran teams, right? North Carolina, Syracuse, Oklahoma, and Villanova. This team has a little bit of the Villanova flavor. The depth, the guard play, the go-to guy, size inside.
And a lot of these guys were on the team last year that went to the Elite Eight. And then you add Dylan Brooks, who missed last year with an injury. And Brooks is a guy, I mean, they beat Arizona. He took 1 shot. Then they needed him to score against USC. He puts up 12.
No, I love his toughness. Dylan Ennis is going to have 2 different senior days. He had a senior day last year because he didn't know he was going to be back. And because he got the 6th year from the NCAA, he's going to have senior day this weekend.
He was at Rice and at Villanova. 2 home games remaining for Oregon. They'll play Colorado up next. They lost to Colorado earlier this season. And it's all Oregon right now, leading by 8. Dorsey has been outstanding, matching Utah with 10 points.
And the LA native is getting it done tonight, knocking them down. He's been red hot. That only makes the Ducks even more deadly.
You do good with that delay. Well, you look at the top 3 teams of the Pac-12, all ranked in the top 10. As we look at the BPI heading into tonight's game, powered by Microsoft Cloud. It's the 3rd time this season that the Pac-12 has had 3 teams in the top 10. First time in almost 2 decades.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. Arizona hasn't been whole, obviously, but they have gotten it back. But you can tell right now, lots of balance. A lot of it depends, obviously, on schedule. We pointed out that Arizona and Oregon, right, playing one time. Arizona's got the tie break after that demolition here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they don't play again, only meeting this season between the 2. Mentioned that Oregon's got Colorado on the road, then they go play at Cal, Stanford, and Oregon State for their final 3 games away from Eugene.
And that 1-2-2 zone, just a nuisance press. Utah got into the offense at about 20 seconds, so it did its job. It melted the shot clock a little bit.
Shot clock at 5. Here's Zamora on the drive. Another turnover. That is 4 by Utah. They have 5 baskets.
Well, this has been a major problem for a team that, when they don't turn it over, is really efficient in terms of their shooting and scoring, Dave. But turnovers have been an issue for this Utah team. I think they're passing up good shots.
Again, without Kuzma, their leading scorer at 16 points per game. And got a Utah foul here. That's on Bonham. It's a 13 foul on Utah. They come in number 2 in the Pac-12, Utah, in scoring. They're averaging 81 points per game. That's a lot of points. That's their best at Utah in 40 years.
Yeah, and you know, it hasn't dropped very much in conference play. I mean, they're still hovering around 80, and they've been that way the whole season.
Dorsey almost traveled there.
You know, last I looked, there were over 40 teams averaging 80 points a game. I did that about a week ago.
You like the trend?
I love
what
it.
You're seeing?
Absolutely. Shooting's up. Scoring's up. Absolutely. Flow of the game is better.
Another Utah foul, that on Collette, his first. We will talk about some teams outside the Pac-12. We can do that with Fran here. Here's Dorsey on the drive.
I tell you, a team I've enjoyed watching this year is USC. Benny Boatwright gets it going. Boy, is he a good player.
Traveling on Boucher. Now Saturday on ESPN, Kentucky and Georgia. Kentucky ranked 13th right now. Meanwhile, our Saturday primetime game presented by AT&T, Virginia and North Carolina. Both games streaming live at the ESPN app. Watch ESPN.
Yeah, Duke went to Virginia last night. Charlottesville knocked them off. Jason Tatum, the outstanding freshman, one of those small ball 4 men, had a big night, 28. And bad news to North Carolina, they lost Kenny Williams, one of their solid subs off the bench, to a knee injury. He'll miss the rest of the regular season.
That game was part of the crossover. Doug Collins crossed over and did that game. I can't remember who I worked with last night.
You didn't really get to say very much.
No, that's a good point. Here's Pritchard from the corner. Knocks down the 3. And Oregon's lead is 11.
I'm a big fan of this kid. I watched him as a sophomore. The Nike Hoop Summit, Dave, is in Portland, Oregon every year. And every year they put together a bunch of college guys to scrimmage against the great high school players for Team USA. This kid was out there as a sophomore in high school. Nobody knew who he was. We found out quickly. Of course, he's had a great high school career in the state, hasn't he?
4 state championships. West Lynn just outside Portland. Here's Dylan Brooks on the drive. And got it blocked out of bounds.
Peyton Pritchard originally committed to Oklahoma as a junior. His father, Terry, was a tight end for Barry Switzer back in the 80s, and mom was a gymnast, and he thought, reconsidered and decided he wanted to stay close to home. Ironic, because Dana Altman and Lon Kruger, very close friends.
All right, and speaking of Oklahoma, big signing today as Pritchard missed the putback. Can Oklahoma, with that move, finally overtake Kansas?
No,
next year?
no. I mean, Oklahoma's got a really good young team. And Trey Young, the outstanding point guard you mentioned from Norman, is going to stay home. He's one of the top 15 players in the country. But, no, simply not enough to overtake Kansas. Kansas is going to win its 13th straight conference title. And going forward, Dave, they're still the king of the hill in the Big 12.
It's amazing what Bill Self has done. Incredible job. I mean, to win that many conference championships in a row. As well, that was close to an over and back by Zamora. And nice job by Collette there against Bell, the shot blocker.
He's been solid. Transfer from Utah State. He's been in double figures every game since becoming eligible in December.
Had a season high 22 points against Washington State last week.
You know, there was a team once upon a time that won 13 straight conference titles, right? Played in this league. Coached by the Wizard of Westwood.
No comment. Here's Brooks. Great look to Boucher, who gets free underneath. How do you think the Pac-12 got the nickname Conference of Champions, Frank?
I tried to get one of those T-shirts.
The tie-dye
I really
one?
did. Yeah, I really did.
They originally came from the commissioner himself. Larry Scott gave those to us at the Pac-12 tournament a couple of years ago.
Got a chance to spend some time with Larry over in Shanghai when Stanford played Harvard earlier this year. He's proud of this basketball league this year.
Collette picks up his second foul.
And Dillon Brooks is more than just an outstanding scorer. This team moves the ball really well, finding Boucher inside. You know, Dillon Brooks, we'll have a graphic we'll show you later, but I probably teased it just now, but he's perfect for where he plays. If he plays at the next level, Dave, and you know it because you see it every night, he's probably a 2 or a 3, but he plays the 4 spot for Oregon, and it's perfect because he can score inside, he can shoot it, he can drive it, he can handle it in transition. Perfect.
And they suffered a scare when as Boucher hits another 3 for Oregon. Brooks got injured a couple weeks ago, and he had foot surgery in the offseason, and some thought, uh-oh, here we go again. It's great to see Brooks back out there healthy.
I really think one of the reasons he had foot surgery, he had played basketball 12 months a year for 2 straight years because he spent the summer with the Canadian national team a couple years ago.
Wow, Fairfield way off on the 3.
See, he gets to handle the ball as a 4-man right there.
Dylan Ennis into the paint. Here's another 3-point try. Benson off the mark. And that might have been a push off on Chase Johnson. Although we've seen Oregon flop before. One player in particular. Here's Bonham for 3. Rattles out. Boucher, wonderful catch there. Had to adjust his body. Brooks behind the back. And a blocking foul called here. Team foul number 6 on the Utes. It's on Ross in his first. Oregon leading 26-12. The Ducks off to a great start again at home, seeking 41st straight home win.
In the Pac-12, you know he's got an acting career as well, Dave. Early in the season, I got to give this one to him. He does so many things well. This is the flop of the year in college basketball. Loved it. He is, I'll tell you, he is an intense competitor. And this is what I mean when I talk about small ball forwards. All of these guys who, if they play at the next level, are likely to be perimeter guys, but they're utilized perfectly within a system where they can do a little bit of everything. And you see Dillon Brooks quite a bit. That's what makes him so effective, I think.
Who do you think of these guys here as the brightest NBA future? Is it Josh Jackson?
I think Josh Jackson has a great future. The youngster at Kansas, he's got an incredible motor. He's improving his shooting, and he's likely to be in the top 5. Jason Tatum had a great game last night, and Miles Bridges from Michigan State is really starting to play well now that he's healthy for Tom Izzo.
Meanwhile, Jordan Bell's basket makes it a 16-point Oregon lead. Keep in mind, Utah averages over 80 points per game and has 12 right now. But Oregon, one of the best defensive teams in the Pac-12. Dillon Brooks with the pull-up, and the lead is 18.
Now, we've seen a little bit of everything tonight from Oregon. They have so many weapons. You know, I've said this before during the season with some teams. The go-to guy right now is the open man.
So it should be, right?
Yeah, you can't play off of anybody. Bell's not a great shooter, but he can score inside.
The tip-in goes, ending a 9-0 Oregon run. Gabe Beeler with the putback.
Beeler, one of the few seniors on this team. Doesn't play a lot of minutes, but getting an opportunity tonight.
But to your point on Oregon, incredibly unselfish. Go back to the point on Dylan Ennis, right? Your point guard.
Yep.
If you need him to score, he will. And there's Brooks from the elbow missing. But if Ennis doesn't have to score, he won't force it.
Oh, exactly right. You know, Casey Benson on occasion has been able to lift them offensively. He did that a lot last year.
He's shooting 56% from 3 in league play. Benson,
exactly, yeah.
Off the bench. Fairfield banks it in.
And the youngster to transfer from SMU, he was only there 10 minutes before he decided to come back closer to home. The very first games he played this year, Dave, he had 35 out in Hawaii. It's a game that Kuzma missed.
He's from Corona, California. And there's what you're talking about with Brooks inside, basically playing the 4, even though he's got 2 bigs out there.
He's perfect. They have a good system for him. He's perfect for this.
I got Cavell, Bigby Williams, Sir Bigby, as many call him. Out here playing the center position right now.
Well, he's one of the very few players from Great Britain in Division I.
Good defense there. He's a shot blocker. I mean, they got 3 of them: Boucher, Bell, and Bigby Williams. Lead the nation in block shots and altered shots as well. Even if they don't get it, they're going to alter one just like they did on that last possession.
That's exactly right. They make it really tough to score inside.
Fairfield, and again, Bigby Williams coming over. Pritchard pushing tempo, but Utah back defensively. And count the basket on a foul call. So a 3-point chance for Jordan Bell.
And you know, you asked me about what impressed me about Oregon since the time I saw them against Baylor. Jordan Bell's impressed me tonight. High energy. We know he's an outstanding defender, but boy, is he athletic. And that time he had a nice little soft touch off the glass on the foul.
He's averaging 11 points, 8 rebounds. He had 29 rebounds in the 2 games in Los Angeles last week. Runs the floor, number 2 in the conference in shooting, number 4 in block shots. It's the first free throw of the game for either team, and it's a 19-point Oregon lead.
And one of the things I've noticed this year, and maybe it's taken a couple of years, is teams are playing defense without fouling as much, and I think that's why the flow of the game is so good. And you see the flow Oregon's had tonight. Look at this.
Brooks unable to get that 3. And again, on the defensive end, you saw Bigby Williams alter another shot inside. Who's going to step up for Utah with Kyle Kuzma out of the lineup because of an ankle injury? Just 16 points so far on the night, and they're missing a lot of them in the lane. Here's Bell. Great spin, showing his quickness. Bigby Williams in the lane, puts it in.
Terrific pass by Jordan Bell. He spun baseline. He got stuck, but he drew 2 defenders, and that's not easy for 2 big guys to hook up like that.
Getting the basket inside is Chase Johnson, a 7-footer from California as a freshman.
I think he's going to be a good player in time. He's with a coach that knows how to develop big guys. Coach K did a terrific job with Jakob Poeltl in 2 years, the first Austrian player to play in the NBA.
Dylan Ennis takes it right to the rim.
He got off to a really slow start this year. Wasn't making shots, forcing things. Love the way he's improved in terms of just letting the game come to him.
Brooks with the steal. He was trying to call timeout before he went out of bounds. And they actually gave it to him. But they say it's going to be Utah basketball.
No flopping tonight for Dylan Brooks. Getting it done everywhere on the court. Pretty good in the lane.
10 points, 4 of 4 from the floor. Jordan Bell's 4 of 4. Oregon shooting 63%, 4 of 8 from 3. Playing excellent defense against Utah, which does not have a 3, is 0 for 6, and overall shooting just 35%.
And Tyler Dorsey, you look out there at this Dorsey and Bell getting it done. They've got that international flavor, Oregon, with Bigby Williams, Boucher, the Canadian connection. Tyler Dorsey's mom is Greek, and he has played on the Greek national team. So, although the youngster grew up in LA, he's got plenty of international experience.
He grew up in Pasadena. He said the parade of roses would go down his street. He was that close.
Did he sneak into the Rose Bowl is what I want to know.
No, I asked him last week. He said he did not. We're at UCLA, who's getting a chance to play in front of friends and family. Got a 3-point chance here for Jace Johnson as Benson reached in and picked up his first foul.
I mentioned earlier, I like this young man. He got a chance to get his feet wet last year. He redshirted the second semester. Got a chance to go against Jakob Poeltl every day. Only a freshman, Dave.
Awkward looking release at the free throw line on only a 40% shooter from there. Here's Ennis driving the paint. Pretty strong move, but couldn't get it to go. Here's Van Dyke with the pull-up and the tip-in. It's rare that Utah's had back-to-back baskets on possessions tonight.
That's going to make Coach K happy that they've come from the freshmen. Good energy inside versus those Oregon big men.
Here's another look for Dorsey. His first miss of the game. Rebounded by Johnson. Daniels, and a blocking foul is called on Boucher. That's 2 on him. Again, Oregon had the big lead against Arizona, held on to that lead. Big lead against UCLA. The Bruins able to come back. Coming up, NBA All-Star Weekend in New Orleans. It starts Friday with a celebrity game on ESPN. We've got Jamel Hill and Michael Smith as coaches. And among the participants, Mark Cuban.
You know, Mark Cuban, I coached Mark Cuban.
You did?
Yeah, Indiana University had a fantasy basketball camp a couple years ago. I was one of the coaches. Miles Simon, Dino Gaudio. Mark Cuban, he's an Indiana grad.
Yeah, I knew that.
He was on my team. He's a stretch 4. Loved to shoot the deep ball. He had back issues, so we had to, pull him in and out of the lineup. But he still likes to play.
Here's Dorsey on the drive, going to get called for the offensive foul here. He extended the off arm. His first foul, and a mini run here by Utah. 5-0. See if he can get it down to 12, maybe going into the locker room at the half.
Dorsey caught Daniels right in the chops. The push off. Extended that arm.
Yeah, Daniels has some blood.
Now they're going to go look at this, but to me, you have to be really devious to commit a flagrant 1 or 2 when you have the ball driving to the basket. I think he was just trying to ward him off. I think this should be a very quick replay.
Yeah, check that no blood on Daniels. The reason for the stoppage is to see if it's flagrant, but nah, it's just a basketball play there.
One of the things that determines whether it's a flagrant 1 is when you turn and stare at the guy with intent. And that was clearly just a common foul, and that's what the referees have.
Yep, Tommy Nunez coming over and confirming that with us. We got Tommy Dick Hartnell with us tonight.
John Higgins.
Yeah, John just told us as well. John, the crew chief tonight.
You know what I really like from the broadcast booth as a former coach? I hated to guess. I try to study the rules, but I hated to guess. About 7-8 years ago, they would start to come over to you and tell you, here's what we've got.
Yep.
So you don't have to make stuff up and, backtrack.
Bill still makes stuff up even when they do come over and tell us.
But he doesn't backtrack.
That is true.
Full steam ahead for the big redhead.
Destination unknown. Van Dyke for 3 off the heel, and Jace Johnson again with the offensive rebound. But he stepped out of bounds.
I like what he's doing. I really like this young guy. We had him at the Under Armour All-American camp a couple years ago. And I look at him, I think of Rick Majerus, because when I coached at New Mexico and the great Rick Majerus was at Utah, he had a whole bunch of guys that were Jace Johnson size, including Keith Van Horn, who I didn't get a chance to coach against.
Keith was a terrific college player. That was touched last by Bonham. About an 11-second difference between the clocks here. Utah 0 for 8 from three-point land. And again, just 23 points. They average 81. Oregon, meanwhile, shooting close to 60% from the floor. Here's Brooks inside the arc, swishes it through. He's got 8 points. Oregon with a trap. Beeler to the rim.
Johnson did a good job of sealing off the defense.
From half court, good if it goes. Off the rim. Oregon leads by 16 at halftime. They've lost just 1 game when leading at half, and that was last Thursday when they blew a 19-point lead at UCLA. But that's a team that has some NBA players, including Lon Eugene for the second half. Oregon trying to make it 41 straight home wins, leading Utah 41-25. Now, Dillon Brooks came over at halftime and asked me, do you miss Bill? Now, my answer does not need to be repeated on national television, but let's just say that, in a word, it was no. But that was until I saw what this guy was wearing. You're enjoying your first trip to Eugene, huh?
It's Dave, right? It's Dave. I really like what Oregon is doing tonight. The 3 guys, Brooks, what's their names? Bell, and the other guy. They're not Wicks and Jamal Wilkes and Greg Lee, but they're pretty good, and they've been terrific tonight. I'll tell you, Dana Walton told us that he has the 7 starters, but he's got 3 stars, and these guys have been outstanding tonight. They have carried the load and have really done a good job of moving the ball and finding the open man.
And that is our Fast Relief, brought to you by Zantac, a product I've become quite familiar with. As you look at the numbers for Dorsey, Bell, and Brooks, even John Higgins, the crew chief, just came over and looked at Fran and said, good impression. That was well done.
Listen, I know you miss Bill tonight. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of the taste of what it's like to be Oregon Fran up here, okay?
Well, it is quite a facility, though, isn't it? I know this is your first trip here, and you see this venue and the student section. You know, if they can get the football program back, I mean, you think about it. The last time Oregon's basketball team lost a home game, the football team was preparing to play for the national championship. But obviously they fired their coach this year. Willie Taggart has come on to replace Mark Helfrich. But the basketball team, I think, has a great chance to go to the Final Four this year. Utah with a basket to start the second half.
And I like Willie Taggart, too. You look at his bloodlines, the Harbaugh family. He was a great player at Western Kentucky, great assistant coach for Jim Harbaugh. Look at this guy. I love this guy. Now, I saw this team back in November when they got beat at Baylor without Dillon Brooks. And to me, I love Jordan Bell's energy, Dave.
5 for 5 now from the floor, Jordan Bell.
Which is going to raise that ridiculous field goal percentage already.
And he's at 61%. There's Rawson at 6'10", hitting a 3.
And that's a good start for Utah. I thought the first 10, 12 minutes of the game, particularly the starters, I thought they passed up shots, turned it over, got to play loose and free. They're playing without Kuzma.
Yeah, Kyle Kuzma, their leading scorer and rebounder. He averages a double-double. He's out tonight with an ankle injury as they get the foul here on Dorsey. 2 on him. Kuzma, a guy that is one of the more improved players along with Jordan Bell in the Pac-12. They think there's a chance he could play Sunday. They're going to go to Portland and stay in Portland for the next 3 days. Crazy schedule where they're playing Thursday night and Sunday night in this Oregon trip.
Well, I haven't been to Corvallis, but sure, it's a great college town. My buddy Wayne Tinkle struggling a little this year. They've had some injuries, but a couple nights in Portland, not bad. Great city.
Here's Collette. Got to finish that. And here comes Dorsey in transition.
The ball sings, doesn't it, with these guys?
Ennis drains the 3, shooting 50% from behind the arc in conference action.
And that's your 5-man making that play off the delivery.
You got 4 players on the floor that can shoot the 3. Nice look to Collette for the dunk.
And then Jordan Bell will get everything you miss.
It's a huge game for Utah, trying to get itself into the NCAA tournament picture. Right now, Joe Lunardi with 5 teams from the Pac-12 as Dorsey with a pretty move. He missed just 1 shot in the first half.
You know, this is essentially a very similar to defense to what they see every day and what they play. And they have no problem attacking that defense. And that time Parker Van Dyke left his feet in the backcourt, caught it in the air. But watch Dorsey. He has been really efficient tonight, Dave. You pointed out how good a shooter he's been lately, but watch the ball movement right here. Side to side, and then Jordan Bell, you think he's going to the rim, the kick out. And again, that's your 5-man making a play.
Oregon ranked 7th in the country. The Ducks were 5th last week, and they lost at UCLA, dropped 2 spots, but they're still 11-2 in conference play, a game back of Arizona. Should they finish tied with the Wildcats, they don't play again, Oregon would get the tiebreaker and the #1 seed of the Pac-12 tournament in Vegas.
Another reason this is a big game for Utah tonight, they're still fighting for one of those 4 byes into the quarterfinals.
And right now, Arizona, Oregon, UCLA, you'd think would be locks for 3 of them. Cal has a 1-game lead on Utah and USC for that 4 spot. Oregon is a team shooting close to 60% from the floor. Brooks turns it over there. Bottom ahead to Daniels, and a strip by Pritchard. Out of bounds, Utah keeps.
How about
lone loss for Arizona was here. Big against Oregon. Actually, they're 12-1 in conference play. Oregon a full game back. Arizona's playing at Washington State tonight.
How about that Saturday night game in LA? That should be a good one, huh?
USC, UCLA.
Yep, rematch at Pauley. I mentioned Andy Enfield's done a really nice job with that team. Got good young guards.
Speaking of a good young guard, we'll have Arizona at Washington on Saturday. Now we'll see if Markelle Fultz is able to play. He's been battling injury. Here's Pritchard ahead of the pack, laying it in with a left hand. Fultz or Ball? Who you got?
I would have said Fultz most of the year. I love Markelle Fultz. I've been around him as a young high school player. Alonzo Ball is growing on me as far as that #1 pick. And I think he's going to shoot the ball in the NBA better than anybody thinks. I don't know if it's going to be Steph Curry-like, but it's going to be close, Dave.
I agree. He is a terrific shooter. It doesn't look pretty, but he's shooting in the mid-40s from 3, and he makes deep threes in clutch situations like against Oregon last week. Here the Ducks go in transition again. Look at Bell. Take it all the way and lay it in. Man, is he improved. The lead is 20 for Oregon. Jordan Bell, 6 of 7, 13 points. Bell and the Ducks getting out in transition, and they got a 20-point advantage at home. Now, ESPN will have that last quarterfinal, one semifinal in the championship game as well. Again, the top 4 seeds get a bye to the quarters.
I'm looking at 5 teams right now. USC and Cal, I think, will be in. Utah, Dave, you see that right there? They will get no credit for beating Washington. They're going to have to run the table at the end of the year, assuming they don't win tonight. And then they're going to need 2 wins, and one of those wins will come over a team like UCLA or Arizona or Oregon.
3-pointer off the mark by Zamora. Utah 1 of 10 from 3-point land. Now Oregon been so efficient offensively in this game. Brooks gets in the paint and puts it in.
And that's that mismatch ability we talked about. Collette can't really stay in front of him from the perimeter in.
Largest lead of the night for Oregon, which is now at 62% shooting. Wow, nice move by Collette on the baseline.
Yeah, he just put his head down. Nobody came over and rotated.
Pritchard won't fall. Daniels with the clear for Utah. Basket by Devin Daniels.
Good-looking freshman. He's had a good, solid season. Young man out of Battle Creek, Michigan, has been in the starting lineup virtually the whole year. Again, this is a young Utah team. A lot of guys will return, most of it.
Brooks for three. We saw him do it in the paint several times tonight. Now he hits the triple, his first three-point basket.
And remember, he had Collette, who's an inside player, guarding him on the perimeter. More of that mismatch talent he has.
Boy, Brooks is getting better and better as Zamora answers as the season goes along. Over the last 4 games, Dillon Brooks is averaging 21 per game, shooting about 55% from 3. Again, he had the injury a couple weeks ago, had the surgery going into the season, missed the first few games. Beautiful move to the left by Brooks.
Well, Collette can't guard him, and there's nothing he can do about it. If you take the typical high school 6'7" superstar, Dave, and you tell him, we're going to play you at the power forward spot, they would say, I'm not going to your school. This is a perfect offense for him.
You know, I saw Dana Altman pull Dillon Brooks aside during the last timeout. I wasn't 100% sure what he told him, but I think he said go for it. I think he was talking about being aggressive on the offensive end because we've seen the last few possessions Brooks really attacking.
Well, one of the things he might have thought of is he's got that mismatch with Collette. And Collette's not a bad defender, but he's not used to guarding on the perimeter the way he has to.
Zamora with the floater. Batted around, and Collette controls it for Utah. And an Oregon foul. Second team foul on the Ducks. Well, Dillon Brooks certainly a candidate for Pac-12 Player of the Year. Who else is in the mix? We'll get Ferran's thoughts when we come back. Well, there are several candidates for Player of the Year, not only in the Pac-12, but also nationally from this conference.
Well, absolutely. And in the Pac-12, and I think nationally, boy, I'm going with Lonzo Ball. And the reason is, Dave, he's transformed the entire UCLA program. Dillon Brooks is a great college player. Oregon is a very good team. We know UCLA has talent, but he has transformed that team with his unselfishness and turned them into a, you know, whatever they are now, top 10, top 7, and with a chance to win it all. I watch UCLA games no matter who they play every night they're on because I want to watch Lonzo Ball do something unique in the game of basketball.
And 3 of the guys we showed you there are freshmen, Markkanen, Fultz, and Ball. So you look at Bryce Alford's numbers. Obviously, he's always been a good shooter. His numbers have skyrocketed this year playing with Lonzo Ball. TJ Leaf, who's a really good freshman. He wasn't pictured there, but he's another guy that's in the mix for the type of year he's had.
Hey, how about Hamilton and Holiday? You know, last year I saw that team in Maui, and they were really dysfunctional. You know, they really were. Tony Parker was the inside guy for them. And listen, Steve Alford's done a really good job of allowing them to play the way they do. And Lonzo Ball is the main reason why. He's a phenomenal college player.
Oh, nice move inside by Fairfield. Really hard to go with Fultz. I know you and Bill obviously would say the same thing. It's really hard to go with Markelle Fultz, as talented as he is, given how bad Washington has been.
You know my problem with Markelle Fultz, and I say this as a compliment to him, he's too unselfish. With that team at Washington, they're not going to win a lot of games unless he goes and does a Russell Westbrook and tries to get 40. And I think he could average 30 this year. But he's too unselfish, but he's going to be a tremendous NBA player, in my opinion.
Got another timeout. Foul here on Utah with Oregon in front by 18 points. The Oregon Ducks have the longest active home winning streak in college basketball, 40 straight here at Matthew Knight Arena. Their last loss was on January 8th of 2015. And that's 770 days.
You know what makes a good streak? Good players.
Joe Young a part of that. He's now in the NBA. The football team has lost 5 games at home since the basketball team last lost. But again, was going into the football team's national championship game against Ohio State. Akron has the second longest streak. Arizona is 5th. 20 straight home wins.
And by the way, the pit crew behind us, outstanding part of this new experience here, Matthew Knight Arena. You know what I wish I had done? I'm such an idiot. I'm such a history nut for basketball. Wish I'd gone over to Mac Court. Could have walked into Mac Court and seen it for the first time. And I have to get out of here late tonight. Wish I would have done that.
I remember doing an NIT game about 12 or 13 years ago in there, and you'd put a water bottle up on our table and it would bounce off the table. Yep. It would last about 4 seconds because the place shook for how loud it got.
Next time Bill needs a night off and I'm up here with you, I'm going to get over to Mac Court. I know you're hoping sooner than later.
Oh, Boucher with the swat. They call him the swatter boy here in Eugene. And stepping on the sideline that time, a turnover by Oregon.
Hey, by the way, do you mind if I wish my mom who's watching tonight her 80th birthday?
Feel free. We would people have been dead for 200 years. Happy birthday in this show. So go ahead.
Happy birthday, Mom. And Mom, I know you're a long way from being dead. And I love you. She turns 80 tomorrow. She's not Jerry Garcia.
Or Abe Lincoln. We wish Abe happy birthday, but Mrs. Frischilla, happy birthday as well.
Yep.
Living in Florida, correct?
She is, right, in the Fort Lauderdale area.
And you're off to Morgantown, right, for West Virginia this weekend?
I'm there for the whole weekend. I got games Saturday and Monday. Nice job inside by the young freshman. Jace Johnson's been pretty solid tonight.
Going to be interesting to see how the Mountaineers bounce back after that Kansas game, huh?
Incredible, incredibly painful loss, and more reason why that is the toughest place to play in college basketball. Allen Fieldhouse. Come back from 14 down with 2.5.
By the way, you mentioned Bill not being here. We will actually be doing a Big 12 game in a couple weeks. Kansas at Texas. That crew will have that game.
Bill is, you know what? You know what they say about Austin, right? Keep Austin weird. Bill is going to be right at home on 6th Street. Okay. People's Republic of Austin. He is going to feel right at home.
Second chance points have kept this game from being a 30-point game. Utah outscoring Oregon 14-0, now 16-0 on second chance points after that putback by Johnson.
Johnson's been the most impressive player tonight for the Utes. He's only a freshman, and he would have been legal right there had he put his hands straight up.
Dorsey will go to the line. Coming up on Saturday in the SEC, it's Kentucky and Georgia, and then we'll take you to the Dean Smith Center for this week's College Game Day. Saturday primetime game presented by AT&T, Carolina and Virginia. Both games streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. You see a national title contender in one of those teams there, or more?
North Carolina. I don't think Virginia scores easily enough.
What about Kentucky?
No, I don't think their defense is going to be good enough. And to me, they're too young. You know, in the last 11 years, only 2 national champions have even had one and-done guy on their roster. 2012, Kentucky, Anthony Davis, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, some others. 2015, the Duke team with Winslow and Okafor and Tyus Jones.
Wow.
I just don't think that Kentucky's got enough experience to win it all.
North Carolina is really talented.
They're really talented. I'm going to be interested to see if the loss of Kenny Williams hurts them a little.
Three-pointer off the mark for Bonham, and here goes Oregon in transition again. Dylan Ennis throws it into the backcourt, and Bonham chases it down. Never gave up.
Oh, that was like a sure 2. That is the play of the night. Wow.
That right there tells you all you need to know about the type of player Jordan Bell is.
Well, they're up big, right? And he just decides he's not going to give up a layup right here. I mean, that's great hustle. Good hustle by John Higgins, too, to get down the floor. That is, I'll tell you, that earns you a roster spot in the league, Dave. You know, there's 25 stars in the NBA? Maybe 30,
sure.
Right? The rest of the league, right? Role players like Boucher and Bell.
Benson fouled. I think Bell has got himself a lot of attention right now with his improvement and also his defense. And Boucher, by the way, can block shots too. He's leading the Pac-12. That's 8 blocks. Oregon leads the country in block shots.
And this is one of the things that you love to have going into the NCAA tournament, is that ability to protect the rim. They really have a lot of weapons. That's why they remind me of the Villanova team that won it all a year ago.
Fran, I really think all 3 Pac-12 teams that are in the top 10 right now can win the national championship.
I have no reason to disagree with you. And again, with the way UCLA can put points on the board, Arizona's toughness.
Well, I'm curious your take, because Bill has said he does not think since Alonzo Trier came back that Arizona's as good. I disagree on that because of Trier's individual talent.
Well,
what are your thoughts?
The reason I would agree with you is because one thing, aside from being a great coach, Sean Miller's a great psychologist. And as they get ready for the Pac-12 tournament and the NCAA tournament, listen, they have to be on a mission. They have never been to the Final Four under Sean Miller, and this is a good year to get there. And so I think he'll get everybody buying in.
Benson committing the foul. Lenardi has Oregon as a 2 seed right now. He's got UCLA as a 4. Arizona 3. 3 teams in the top 10 in terms of rankings. But again, that doesn't determine the seeding. There's a 2-point basket by Gabe Beeler. Well, it's been so long since this conference had a national championship. It's been a decade since they had a team in the Final Four. Dorsey, it's a 2.
Well, they're an efficient basketball team, Oregon, aren't they? Ball moves, doesn't stick.
They're shooting 64% in the second half, 60% for the game.
See, and I really think this, Dave. I think offense wins NCAA tournaments. I know you got to have at least a reasonably good defensive team, but I think when you get into the down the stretch, you got to be able to score against really good defenses. And this team can score, from 4 or 5 different spots.
Dorsey got it blocked. There's Bell again, and Jordan Bell is fouled by Beeler.
And getting back to the NBA thing with Bell, and he's got another year. Once you get past the superstars, you're just trying to fill out your roster with good role players. And if you're a guy like him, who's your 10th, 11th, 12th man, who's not going to play much, you want him to be a great guy, a hustler, a guy that's going to work in practice. And then when you do stick him in the lineup, you don't have to run any plays for him, right?
Sure, and he's going to defend several positions. He's going to run the floor, energy.
Yep.
Dana Altman has done an outstanding job here. Went to the Elite 8 last year, 4 straight NCAAs. There was a time where this program was not relevant, and there was a time where they were good. They went to the Elite 8, a decade ago, and then they hit a rough patch. But the hiring of Dana Altman has turned things around, and even if Oregon loses some of these guys to the NBA, he's lost players every year. I think they're going to be in the mix for Pac-12 titles for years to come.
They got a terrific 3-man recruiting class coming in, led by Troy Brown. Look at that. That's on the way down.
Yep.
Troy Brown, remember the name, out of Las Vegas, Nevada, 6'6", do-it-all guard. He's on the way.
Well, Fran made the mention earlier that he compares Oregon to Villanova. We'll go a little deeper on that when we return to Eugene.
All together, they have a terrific coach in Dana Altman, just like Jay Wright, and the great job he's done at Villanova. I think it's here.
Well, you look at, it's so rare to have a nucleus together for consecutive years anymore, right, in college basketball. And again, a lot of the players on this Oregon team were part of that Elite 8 run a year ago.
That's right, knocked off by Oklahoma and Buddy Hield. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
He just jumped over a 7-footer, and David Collette stuffed it on him.
And that's not rare from Dylan Brooks. He's done that this year.
Did it last Thursday at UCLA, dunked on 2 guys. Here's Collette in the lane. Short, Boucher with a rebound.
You're saying he maybe dunked on 2 Utes tonight.
Now Brooks will try from long range. 5 straight for Dylan Brooks.
That's why he's one of the unguardable players in the country, because he can score from every spot on the floor.
He's got 20 tonight. He's averaging over 20 his last 5 games, just hitting his stride. Good hustle by Collette for Utah. And it's going to be a kicked ball. It will stay Oregon basketball. Boucher a little slow to get up.
Here it is, Dave. Let's watch it.
Boom.
Almost nonchalant as he heads back.
And the lead is 25 for Oregon. Stripped by Bonham. And an Oregon foul. They're going to get Jordan Bell here for the personal. So you've seen a lot of conferences. You were at Syracuse. You did an ACC game this week. You got Big 12. You're watching Pac-12. And we mentioned earlier about these 3 teams that are in the top 10 from the Pac-12 being national title contenders. As you watch the different leagues, can you see the comparisons? Maybe do you think that a school like Oregon is better than a top team in the ACC or the Big 12?
Well, I think what you have, ACC is a deep conference. Remember, 15 teams, Dave, and it's really 2 leagues, right? It's the old Big East.
Right.
It's the ACC. Big 12, solid, but at the top, really only a couple teams that can go far. West Virginia, Baylor, Kansas. This league's getting better because the middle of the league's getting better. And this year, it's got 3 elite teams. No, these 3 teams at the top of the Big 12, Pac-12, they can play with anybody. They've proven that this year.
I'd love to see Oregon and Baylor play again with Dillon Brooks healthy now, right?
Sure, on a neutral court, right? UCLA did go into Rupp Arena, right? I'll tell you, the 4th team out west that's really good is Gonzaga.
Maybe the best.
Maybe the best. And right now, arguably the best.
I did that first game at home against St. Mary's, and that's the best team I've seen in person this year. But it's also hard to gauge when, in non-conference play, yeah, they're playing Arizona, they're playing tougher teams. But Oregon's playing UCLA.
Right.
They played Arizona, they throttled Arizona here. I would have said Oregon, Fran, until they blew the game last Thursday against UCLA.
But, I look at it differently. I think to get up 19 at Pauley Pavilion takes a lot of skill. I think that was one of those games where they just lost their mojo in the second half, and they got beat by an individual performance that was unbelievable in Lonzo Ball. I thought his defense on Dillon Brooks was fabulous, didn't you?
He took the game over on both ends of the floor, no doubt. Brooks likely done for the night with 20 points. So given what you just said, then do you see Oregon as being better than Gonzaga, or is Gonzaga until somebody beats them number 1?
Well, I think if Gonzaga played in the Pac-12, they would have a couple of losses for sure. They'd lose on the road at certain places. I think Gonzaga is as good or better than these teams, but not by much. I think the 4 of them you could throw in a hat, and that's copping out, but I really believe that.
Gonzaga does have a couple of guys that were good Pac-12 players that are on their roster.
Yeah. Nigel Williams-Goss. I love that young man. He's one of my favorite players in college basketball, but he wasn't a superstar at Washington. You know what I mean? Jordan Matthews, you really liked him at Cal, but he was a secondary player.
Sure.
I like Karnowski. I like the freshman.
Here's Boucher. Lost the handle. Here's Pritchard for 3. And Collette fouls Boucher. That is 4 on Collette. Here's how the NCAA sees it with this new midseason release. Do you like this idea?
One time, it's great. It got people talking last weekend. I thought it was great, and now we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you see Gonzaga on the top line. Remember this. You remember for a few years, Gonzaga would play a tough non-conference opponent in February. I think that was Mark Few's way of telling his team, we need to stay sharp. And I think when you're beating teams on a nightly basis in the WCC, I think you have a tendency maybe to not be as sharp as you need to be going into the NCAA tournament. And I actually think a loss is good too. They're not going to get one likely, although BYU's beaten them at home 2 years in a row. But I think a loss is healthy late in the year going into the tournament because it gets you to recalibrate your team.
Dorsey misfires, rebounded by Chase Johnson. Oregon has put on another offensive show here at home tonight. It's going to be 41 straight home wins. They have the longest active home win streak in the country. They're shooting almost 60% from the floor. Brooks leading the way with 20. Bell has 17. He's missed 1 shot. Brooks has missed only 4. Dorsey has 16 points. Pritchard has 9. And the defense for Oregon has held Utah under 40% shooting. About 9 blocks by the Ducks, the nation's leader in shot blocking as Jordan Bell sits. His night is likely over.
And a tough break for Larry Krystkowiak tonight because he had to play without Kuzma, who's a really good player. And again, this is a young Utah team. They expect to be very good next year. But this was a game that they circled as a resume builder, and they weren't able to get it without Kuzma.
So they'll drop to 17-9, 8-6 in league play, and you would think they have to win out to get into the conversation.
Win the last 4 and then win 2 games in the Pac-12 tournament, because the second win will come against a very good team.
Maybe UCLA.
Exactly.
But again, that's assuming Kuzma's healthy, and even with Kuzma healthy, this isn't the same Utah team we've seen the last 2 years. They have lost so much to the NBA transfer and to graduation. 3.5 to go here in Eugene.
Hey, we've had the flop of the night, flop of the season, I should say, and tonight, the dunk of the night. Dylan Brooks getting it done. No flopping here. Mississauga being represented in the far Northwest.
Also, the best moments from the first half of the NBA season. Dylan Brooks is going to come on and join the Johns live. Dave Pasch, Fran Fraschilla. Final 3.5 minutes here in Eugene, with Oregon on its way to 41 straight home wins, the longest active home winning streak in the country. And they'll get to 12-2. Arizona at last check was winning at Washington State. The Ducks are a game back of Arizona for the best record in conference play, and should they finish tied at the end of the regular season, Oregon would win the tiebreaker and get the 1 seed at the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas. Excited for T-Mobile Arena. Heard it's a beautiful venue.
Seen it from the outside. It looks fabulous. I've heard it's just phenomenal.
Roman Sorkin, who's getting some minutes late, can't finish. A foul called here in Utah. We were talking about how long it's been since the Pac-12 has had a team in the Final Four. It's been 9 years. It's been 20 years since they had a national championship. Miles Simon's Wildcats.
This year, this is probably as strong at top of the league as the league has had in some time. Miles' dad, Walt, just passed away, was an outstanding player at the University of Utah in the old WAC conference. And I know we all send our best. I know it's been a tough couple of months for Miles, but I know he's proud of his pop. He was an outstanding player. That old WAC conference was fabulous because of Utah, BYU, New Mexico, UTEP.
Well, you coached in that league.
Yeah, sure did. Great basketball conference. Huntsman Center, one of the fun places to go and coach, unless you're the coach in New Mexico.
That was a great rivalry for a while.
Yeah, I ended it because we got beat. No, actually, we did beat Rick Majerus once.
By the way, Charlie Noble gets the loudest applause here at Matthew Knight Arena, and I think he's getting ready to check in because the crowd just went wild. Sorkin misses. Sir Bigby with a rebound and then a turnover.
Charlie Noble's a Southern California kid.
Three-pointer off the mark by Bearfield. A second chance, though, for Utah. No good for Van Dyke.
He's made a lot of shots lately in that starting spot. Hasn't been able to knock him down tonight.
Now Oregon is going to go to 23-4 on the season. Second best start in program history.
And who comes in here Sunday night, a team that knocked them off.
Colorado.
in Boulder.
Yep.
So they'll be motivated, I'm sure.
You know, Fran, we talked earlier about how Dana Altman's teams always improve. Check out this stat. Oh, check out that throwdown by Chase Johnson.
What a night this kid's had.
He's going to be a player to watch in the Pac-12.
Yep.
A freshman from Mission Viejo, California.
Yeah, he has really played well, this young man. Only a freshman.
12 rebounds and 14 points. He's averaging 4 and 4.
Done it all night, right? We mentioned him in the first half. He's been fearless inside against that terrific front line.
There's Noble on the floor, senior from Irvine. All right, here's the stat. The last 3 seasons in Pac-12 games after Valentine's Day, Oregon is 18-0, including this game.
After Valentine's Day?
After Valentine's Day.
You have to love that. That's big time.
And again, it just speaks to the improvement that the Ducks make as the season goes on and how tough they are to beat February and March.
And you know how hard it was for Oregon to find a coach when the job opened? They basically tried to get every top coach they could think of, including Tom Izzo. And of course, the backing of Phil Knight and the Nike brand has not hurt. And talking to Dana yesterday at practice, he said he loves this job. He loves Eugene. I mentioned earlier they've given him a long contract. And there you see Kevin McKenna, in the background, his assistant, the former LA Laker.
Saturday on ESPN, the SEC and ACC cap our full day of college hoops. Kentucky and Georgia at 6 Eastern, followed by our Saturday primetime game presented by AT&T. It's Virginia and North Carolina. Well, when you go to a Dana Altman practice, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get positivity. He brings high energy. They run a lot of stuff. There's a lot of teaching. Very similar to a Sean Miller practice at Arizona. And
you know, a lot
you
of
got to pay attention if you're a player.
Yeah, and a lot of repetitions of things that they've done since the beginning of the year. They've gotten better and better at it. And you know, by the way, he was the scout team point guard yesterday.
He always is.
Yeah.
He's been Lonzo Ball a couple times this year. He even wears the jersey.
He's a little better passer than Lonzo Ball. I think he
just a little bit.
I think he sees the floor a little better.
Shot clock at 3 for Ennis. Here's Noble. Everybody wants him to shoot. And he's short. It'll be Utah ball. This will be another convincing win for Oregon. And since the loss to UCLA, they've won now 2 in a row, and they get a chance at revenge against Colorado, the first team to beat them. And they play this weekend in their final home game of the regular season. They'll finish up at Cal. We'll have that game on ESPN2 next Wednesday. Then at Stanford and at Oregon State before the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas. Zamora off the mark with the 3, rebounded by the Ducks. And they're just going to dribble out the clock here. Some of the fans actually boo. They wanted Noble to get another look, but they'll take the win. Impressive, huh? 79-61, 41 straight home wins. Continuing to extend their school record in the longest active home winning streak in the country.
It's a team with 7 starters, couple stars, good on both ends of the floor, highly impressive.
79-61 the final. For Fran Fraschilla, I'm Dave Pasch. So long from Eugene. Now stay tuned for the 2 Johns and Sports Center next.